Can you see my presentation?
Yeah.
Okay, so my name is Juan Pedro Rica, Peromingo from the Complutense University, working there and researching there as well, and working with other colleagues from different universities on different research projects. I'm Caucasian, Mediterranean look, more or less, dark hair. I've got a beard as well, and dark as well, and dark brown eyes. I wear an earring on my in my left ear, and I'm wearing a black shirt, which is my favorite color for most of my clothes. I'm at home right now, and I've got a picture, a painting by Friedrich, the Wanderer, which is a very famous painting, and gray background from the wall. Okay. What I'm going to be talking about right now is the project that we are leading at the Complutense University, the AVLA project, which stands for Audiovisual Translation and Audiovisual Learning Archive. And in that project, we are compiling the CALING corpus, which is a corpus on accessibility. I'm showing the first slide with different pictures, different images and logos from the Complutense University, from the Transmedia Research Group, from the Tratable Research Group at the Complutense University, from the Researching Audio Description Project, from the Autónoma de Barcelona, and the logo as well from the AVLA Audiovisual Learning Archive project that I'm presenting right now. And that's the web page that we have for the AVLA project, avlearningarchive.com. If you want to get there, we are going to have a look at some of the sections. And the people who are involved in this project is very big, in the sense that we are a lot of different researchers from national and international universities, from the English department and translation and interpreting department from the Complutense University, as Ana Laura Rodriguez, Manuel Mata Pastor, Blanca Puchol Vázquez, Sara Martinez, a PhD student working on translation right now, and also, another group of people from different universities in Spain: Universidad Europea Miguel de Cervantes, Ángela Sáez Herrero, Universidad Politécnica de Madrid, Arsenio Andrades, Pilar Orero and Ana Matamala from the Universidad Autónoma de Barcelona. I'm sure you know them, or they ring a bell. Jorge Díaz-Cintas from the University College London, Lourdes Lorenzo and Ana Pereira from the Universidad de Vigo, and from the Audiovisual Communication Department from the Complutense University, one of the deaf informants, who is Paloma Soroa. Apart from that, apart from all these researchers, academic researchers from universities, we have collaborations from two different institutions in Spain. One is the CSIM, which is a language institute from the Complutense University, especially for the deaf and hearing teachers who are expert in sign language, Spanish sign language, and also who are some of the informants that we have for the subtitles for the deaf and hard of hearing population. And the Spanish institution for the blind people, the ONCE, and the contact we have there is Victor Lopez, who's responsible for the accessibility department. And from there, we are getting the informants for the audio descriptions done by the students. So what we are doing, and what we have been doing since 2013, has been to create new technologies, to work with new technologies and methodologies, basically for teaching and learning audiovisual translation modes. In the last years, in the last 3-4 years, we have been focusing our research on accessibility modes, basically subtitling for the deaf and hard of hearing, and audio description for the blind and partially sighted. The idea of this project is to design new materials, resources, and the evaluation as well for the use of those methodologies that we try to implement in our classes apply to teaching and learning audiovisual translation modes. As I said, we have been focusing in the last years only on the accessibility modes because they were like, the new kinds of modes that were implemented in the audiovisual translation classes at the university. What we are doing is to compile a corpus, and the CALING corpus, that stands for Corpus de Accesibilidad Lingüística, Corpus for Accessibility, and they include university students working on different activities for subtitling for the deaf and audio description for the blind, and the evaluation. That's the first part, the students' activities, but the second part is the evaluation of those activities by real recipients, that is, real deaf and blind informants who are evaluating what students have been doing in the classes. The language is not going to be a problem because most of the students are master degree students, and their level of English is at least, because it is a requirement to enter the master's degree, a C1 level of English. So the language is not going to be a problem for the translation of the different texts and the creation of the subtitles and the other descriptions for the classes. The analysis and the evaluation of those activities have been carried out through some questionnaires that we designed in the research group and that you can see in one of the publications that we have, and I'll show you later about that. And those evaluations, as I said, have been carried out through questionnaires which were filled out by the real informants. So far we have 10 for the subtitles for the deaf population and 10 other informants for the audio descriptions. The questionnaires included questions related to both technical and linguistic cultural issues related to audiovisual translation. And as I said, they were designed by the members of this research project. And they were basically based on the legislation that we have on subtitling for the deaf and hard of hearing and audio description, not only the legislation that we may have in Spain with the two norms that we normally have and the Ley General de Comunicación and all these kind of laws and legislation that I will be talking about in the talk tomorrow, but also the typical ones that we have in the European context. So you can have a look at that publication because we have included the complete questionnaires in Spanish, the complete questionnaires for the evaluations of these, real informants. The real informants had to complete those questionnaires per each of the students' activities. That is, they were given the different files for the subtitles for the deaf population and the different video files for the audio descriptions, and they had to be evaluating each of the activities that were part of the CALING corpus. I'm showing a picture, an image of the web page. On top of the image, I have included the web page, as I said before, AV Learning Archive, altogether as a word.com. And then we have the image of the web page, how the web page looks like. We have the logo from the Audiovisual Learning Archive to the left. And the menu of the web page includes information about us, who we are, the audiovisual translation modes and accessibility, the different modes that we have, not only the ones related to accessibility, but also dubbing and subtitling for hearing population, because we started with the different modes. The CALING corpus and all the materials that we are uploading there, that is 2 sections, which are going to be one for the activities from students and the other one with the evaluations by the real informants. And then a fourth section in the menu for contacting us. What we have done so far until this summer, which was the last time we compiled materials, is that we have already compiled materials from movies and TV series using different scenes for our teaching classes, from Up, Carmina y Amén, which is Spanish movie, Breakfast at Tiffany's, The Handmaid's Tale, and Inside Out for the audio descriptions. We already have 181 activities compiled. The real informants have analyzed 134, and as I said, we have 10 blind or partially sighted informants evaluating those activities. In the case of the subtitles for the deaf population, we have included activities related to these movies and TV series, Finding Nemo, The King's Speech, Agora, Up, and The Handmaid's Tale, different seen from the audio description group. Again, in this case, we have 268 activities already compiled. The real informants, that is the real deaf or hard of hearing informants, have evaluated 207. And again, as in the case of the audio descriptions, we have so far 10 informants. What we have obtained in these preliminary results for the, for example, the subtitles for the deaf population is that in general, the informants have evaluated positively the subtitles that the students produced. They were very much into the use of the 4 basic colors that we have in the Spanish system, and they were more or less, you know, giving good opinions on the different use of the colors that we have for subtitles for deaf population in Spain. The speed was appropriate in general. The position of the subtitles was also possibly evaluated in general, and they pointed out, the informants pointed out that the information included in the subtitles was basically literal, verbatim, and no or little adaptation or modification of the information. I should at least say at this point that in my classes, or in most of the classes that I'm teaching for audiovisual translation and accessibility, the students are trained beforehand on the different legislation that we have in Spain. So obviously they know that the kind of speed they need to include in the subtitles, the use of the colors, the use of the different tags, and the contextual information that they have to include, and so on and so forth. For this audio descriptions, exactly the same. The students are trained before on the different legislation that we have in Spain. And in this case, the evaluators complained a little bit, that is the real informants, complained a little bit about the information included in the audio descriptions. They said that they felt exhausted after watching the different scenes because there was too much information included in the audio descriptions. The voice sometimes was a little bit monotonous or sounded a little bit monotonous, but again, I need to justify that according to the norm that we have in Spain, we need to be as neutral as possible, something that, well, personally, I don't agree with, but anyway, following the norm, we should be as neutral as possible, and that was something that the real informants really complained about. The text was synchronized correctly in general, and the text itself was also seen as something positive. The volume was clear in general, the sentences were short and clear, and they also respected, the students respected the pauses among the different sentences. So with all this, and these are simply preliminary results, because obviously we are including more people from different universities this year, and I welcome anybody who's you know, interested in the project to contact me to be part of the project. If you can feed the corpus with new activities and new you know, subtitles for the deaf population and audio descriptions for the blind that you may be working with in your classes. The idea is to go on this year because we have already obtained, you know, a continuation for the project for the next academic course, for this academic course, actually, compiling more activities and obviously having more, if possible, having more informants evaluating the students' materials. Our idea is to make all these repository available for teachers, for students, for researchers on accessibility, who may be, using those activities for their own classes, and also the results obtained with the real informants for their own research. Our idea is to have all these materials online on our webpage, available for those of you who may be interested in that. The ultimate goal of this is at least to suggest some changes in the legislation that we have for subtitles for the deaf population, and audio description for the blind in Spain, the two norms that we have. And obviously, our ultimate goal is to improve teaching and learning the audiovisual translation modes, specifically the ones related to accessibility. We are collaborating with different national and international projects, like the MAP that was already mentioned, the researching in audio description, the RAD one from the Autónoma de Barcelona University as well, and starting with the COST Lead Me project as well this year. So, as I said, contributors for the calling corpus are welcome, and well, thank you very much for your attention. There you have my email. If you need to contact me, just send me an email and talk to me. Or if you have any question, I'd be very happy to answer them right now.